I'm not religious. I don't believe in any religion. And so that any people that are religious that listen to this will probably hate me for it. And Muslims will probably want to kill me for it. Yeah, they kill people for drawing pictures of Muhammad or Allah. I'm not sure. If you make a cartoon of one of them, I guess the Muslims look for you and kill you. But that's been happening for a very long time, even during the time of Muhammad, when they took Medina. When Islam was playing a big part in Medina, there was some poets at the time that were writing that allegedly we have still have sources. We could still find those poems. There was a woman named Asma bint Marwan, which translates from Arabic to mean Asma, the daughter of Marwan. And I guess this woman made a poem. She didn't think that Muhammad was legit, and she didn't think that his because he was power hungry and arrogant and greedy, that she didn't like the guy. So, and then she didn't like the people that were afraid of him, that converted to him, or the people that wanted power as well, joined his forces. And so she wrote poems talking garbage about them, and then Muhammad had her killed. Allegedly. I mean, this is all history. I mean, this might happen or might not happen. Muhammad may have never even existed. None of us will ever know because we were never there. I could say he owned this rock in front of me, and I could say he didn't. Basically, her poem said, "Do you expect any good from Muhammad after the killing of your chiefs? Is there any man of pride who will attack him by surprise and cut off the hopes of those who expect aught from him? And be al-Khazraj, you obey a stranger who is none of yours, and not of Murad or Madij. Do you expect good from him after the killing of your chiefs, like a hungry man waiting for a cook's broth? Is there no man of pride who will attack him by surprise and cut off the hopes of those who expect aught from him?" So basically what she's saying right there is that Muhammad's a greedy dude and killing people, and he shouldn't be trusted. And I'm sure there was a whole tribe of people. I bet you it was divided just like America's divided, left and right, There's maybe some people slightly in the middle. But things were a lot more tribal back then, where people were killed a little more easily and more often. So supposedly, allegedly, some guy they had some guy go to her house where she was sleeping with her 5 kids in a bedroom, and then they took her from one of the babies were sleeping on her chest, and the guy took the baby from her chest and killed her. All because she wrote that she was protesting Muhammad, that she didn't like the people that converted or whatever. She didn't call for any acts of violence or anything like that. She just said, what the hell's going on? And they killed her for it. Then there was a poet named Abu Afak, who was a Jewish guy. He was a poet. He lived in Saudi Arabia region at the time. Now these are just a couple of the people that I know about, that researched about, that are killed during Muhammad's time. Okay? And I'm sure that stuff is still going on every week or month in modern times, strangely. So right off the bat, you can see that Muhammad and Islam didn't like freedom of speech. He's like, yeah, they're mad, but, we got different opinions. It is what it is. He didn't say that. He's like, hey, she's got a different opinion. Let's kill her. She shouldn't think like that. when the Muslims won the war in the year 624 at the Battle of Badr, the the Muslims killed like 45 Meccans, and they took like 70 prisoners for ransom. And the Muslims took some of these people back after the war, back to Mecca, and they're like, hey, they took them. They went back to the families of the people that they stole, and they're like, hey, we got your people, and if they're rich, then they will give them money to get their people back, right, for ransom. So I guess the people that were not rich that they had captured, the captives that didn't have rich families, they were just killed. They were like, you're no good to us, man. So they killed them. And the ones that did come from rich families, they traded their people back for some money. So that's how the Muslims got rich. I mean, that's part of the reason why they got rich. I mean, they also destroyed towns and stole a bunch of women and belongings and things when they conquered cities and towns. And when you get so rich from conquering places and getting all these slaves to build all these great places, then when other people see you, like these villages that you have from all these conquered places, you're going to be like, man, you're pretty badass. You have this really nice house, this nice mansion. Yeah, well, my slaves built it. And all these belongings of gold things I have are from the places I conquered. And all these fruits and foods that I have are from my slaves. And if they disobey me, I'll have their heads cut off. So why talk about Muhammad and Islam on this channel? Well, because Islam has a lot to do with Christianity or Western states throughout history. I live next to a very loud road, so sometimes I stop the recording when there's trucks or ambulances going by, or cop cars or whatever. So let's talk about the birth of Islam. To understand people of Europe and people of America, we gotta understand like the whole world, because like everything plays a part with everything else. Everybody influences everybody. So anyways, there's a guy named Muhammad that was born in the year 571 CE Common Era. Muhammad was born into a tribe called the Quraysh tribe, who were in Mecca. And Muhammad was born into this tribe and to these people that had a lot of control and a lot of power. There's no way I could pause this audio every time a truck goes by or something like that. It is what it is. So yeah, Muhammad was brought up in the Quraysh tribe in Mecca, where Muhammad grew up. Mecca was an important city. It was like similar to Constantinople at the time, where it was like a religious center, and it held the Kaaba. The Kaaba was a place of worship for hundreds of idols that replaced the religion with their own. Just like, when Spain came to the Americas and told all the Indians to join Christianity, Islam was doing the same thing to Mecca and then everywhere else. We're going to get into that. But right off the bat, I think Muhammad's parents died, and then he was taken by his uncle, and then his uncle was taking care of him. And his uncle was a salesman and took Muhammad on trips to sell things and trade things and do whatever. He's like a salesman. He's like, for you, $40. You know how it is when you go to the smoke shops. You're like, how much is this? A friend of mine just bought this for like $20. How much is it? You'd be like, for you, $40. Wow, such a good price. Thanks, friend. So Muhammad learned how to be a salesman. Eventually, he sold the locals on the idea that they only needed one god instead of a bunch of different gods, like the pagan gods. Like my pocket knife has a spoon and a bottle opener connected to it. So anyways, Muhammad gets around. He becomes a merchant, and he eventually meets a woman named Khadijah. And the Khadijah broad, I guess, really likes Muhammad. He's from, a really cool part of Mecca, and he's from a really strong family, and she's like, and I don't know what he looked like, but she was like 10 years older than him, and she's like, hey, how about we get married and have sex and stuff like that? And he's like, hell yeah. But this Khadijah woman was really rich as well. She had a lot of money and probably a lot of power as well. And so he's like, well, I got a lot of power, you got a lot of power. And together we could use our power to subjugate people and teach them about things that they don't know about yet. We're going to make it up as we go. So anyways, the Khadijah woman, she hires Muhammad to work with her. And she proposed to him. Supposedly she proposed to him. She got on her knees. She took him to a nice beach, possibly. And she got on her knees and she's like, will you marry me? He's like, yeah, I guess. So I don't know what kind of marriage they had. I mean, because Islam wasn't born yet, so there must have been a pagan marriage. I mean, Christianity was around, but I don't know. I don't know what kind of marriage they had. I don't know if they had a priest or rabbi or some Muslim dude over there saying, okay, you guys are married now. Or maybe they had some pagan guys, a bunch of dudes hanging out, a bunch of idols. So later on, in year 610, the common era 610, is when Muhammad allegedly gets a message from the spirit in a cave. So he tells his wife, Khadijah, and she takes Muhammad over to this Christian cousin and tell him that he is a prophet and then he should start his own religion. So Muhammad went to this cave and like he was like meditating or something like that, and then like some spirit or something like that came up and was like, hey, go tell everybody that I exist and that you should start a religion. Yeah. But it's like, if this spirit's like all powerful and stuff like that, why doesn't this spirit's, like when people, encounter these spirits, why doesn't the spirit ever say like, hey, I'm a spirit and start a religion, but hey, bring your friends. I'll be here tomorrow at noon. I want to tell you to bring a message to everybody, but why not just bring all your friends here? It's not like I have anything better to do or anything anywhere else to go. Just bring your friends to the cave and I'm going to tell them all these things. How come that never happens? Muhammad, I guess, is the only one that talks to the guy. And why? Why can't he bring his friends? So anyways, Muhammad is the only guy that gets the message. Allegedly, he's the only guy that gets the message in the cave. And so then he goes and tells his wife, and then the wife is like, well, let me introduce you to my cousin. And the cousin is like, yeah, you seem like a prophet. And this is a Christian cousin. So what kind of Christian would do that? Like the Christians believe there's one God and only one true God, and and then some other dude says no, that he met somebody, that there's another God, a separate religion. And so like, why would the Christian be like, yeah, you're right, I'm wrong, you're right? It doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyways, that's what is written. That is allegedly what happened. So anyways, the people of Mecca, the Quraysh tribe, benefit by holding this religious center in Mecca. And they're mad that Muhammad is trying to create his own religion to take their power and money. So it becomes a battle of power and money and control. And Muhammad, being the good salesman as he was, sold the idea of the ideology and conquer to some people that trust him. So the Quraysh tribe in Mecca that Muhammad is from starts to persecute these early Muslims that Muhammad starts getting to go along with him. Now remember, Muhammad was a salesman, so he sold the idea to a lot of people already. He's got a lot of friends, and a lot of friends are like, yeah, that sounds cool. It sounds like Jesus and, Jewish people, and that sounds like a cool thing to have one guy instead of a bunch of different gods, But Mecca wasn't having it. They're like, hey, no. So the Quraysh tribe started to persecute some of these early Muslims, and so these early Muslims started to flee from Mecca to the kingdom of Exum, which was in modern-day Ethiopia. But the Quraysh tribe still tries to find and kill some of these early Muslim people. So there's like a religious center in Mecca, a pagan religious center, and they're like, man, these assholes are coming here talking about they got their own religion now, and they're trying to get rid of our religion and take over. What the hell? He's like, if you find these people, kill them. Cut off their head. So Muhammad, as the salesman he is and the traveler he is, he starts to recruit a lot of people into the idea of Islam. And after he builds a big enough army, he goes back to Mecca to kill all the people that don't believe in him. It's funny how in modern day there's a lot of atheists out there because we have Google and we have a lot of sources to read, so it's hard to believe in anything that's supernatural or that doesn't really exist. And back in the day, everybody was fighting over these ideas of ghosts that live in the sky or underground in these volcanoes with fire, and people lose their life over it. So when Islam defeated this tribe in Mecca, they destroyed all the pagan god statues and turned their church into, or their holy place into a mosque. The Muslims took it over, and that's the inception of Islam, the beginning of Islam, the beginning of Islam conquest. And it's only the beginning of a bloody start of many centuries. Listen to that traffic. I'm going to hit pause. But of course, after there's war and conquest, they take the women, kill the men, take the women, turn some of the boys into slaves and convert them and whatever else. But it's funny, even in that same area, there's still like women being groped and raped and all these types of things in that same area, as in modern day times, from the same damn people. Look up a thing called #MosqueMeToo. There's a lot of things you don't know about until you do, and now you know. But yeah, that was Muhammad's first conquest, the first blood. They drew first blood. But throughout the centuries, Islam conquers states and rapes the women and kills the men. There's a website called GatesToneInstitute.org. It says that Christian girls are meant for only one thing: the pleasure of Muslim men. There's an article I'm looking at here. Gatestone Institute. So do you think people are more civilized today than they were back in the day? It seems like the radical Islamists are the same kind of people as the Mexican cartel, or the cartel of the south of the border of the United States, which can mean any country south of the American border. But here's a paragraph from the Gatestone Institute that says that after their children were abducted by the Islamic State, a couple answered their door to find body parts of their daughters and a video of them being tortured and raped. So these guys take women and have sex with them and then cut them up in little pieces and then deliver their body parts back to the family. So how do you think Muhammad got all these people to convert to Islam? I wonder. Let's get into it. It's pretty crazy. This GatesToneInstitute.org talks about, in one article, it says the Islamic law, always harsh, is still harsher for women. According to the Quran, many men have the authority over women and may beat them if they are disobedient. 434. I guess if you look up 434 in the Quran, it'll talk about it. According to Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, women are less intelligent than men. 2 women are needed to equal 1 man's testimony, and the majority of hell's population is made up of women who are likened to donkeys and dogs in their ability to distract a man from his prayer and thereby annul it. So that's why they have women cover up their heads and they wear sheets all over them because men are distracted by women's breasts and faces and hair and all this kind of stuff. So they're like, cover yourself up, bitch. So I'm assuming a lot of people converted to Islam out of fear. And then women didn't want to be sexually harassed, so they wore the sheets proudly. And for the women that didn't wear the sheets were raped, and that is still happening in modern day Europe. And Middle East and Africa and America as well. Prove me wrong. So yeah, anyways, Muhammad, so what we got here is Muhammad went to a cave, found out that he's a prophet, and couldn't invite his friends to the cave to meet this ghost. And then the people where he came from, the pagan people, didn't believe him, so they wanted to stop him, but he fought back and defeated them. I think there were several battles against Mecca, Islam against Mecca, and they won in the year 629. And at the time, Muhammad already got about 10,000 people, supposedly. Allegedly, he had about 10,000 people that converted to Islam with him. Somehow, in a short amount of time, he got a bunch of people to get a bunch of knives and swords and things like that to go defeat other people. And he's like, hey, we're going to kill these people. We're going to take over the land. We're going to take all their goods. We're going to take their women. And it's going to be a great time. Join me. They're like, hell yeah, let's go. Then in the year 629, there was Khaybar, which was an oasis north of Medina. And it was, there had been a bunch of Jewish tribes there. And Islam came and destroyed it. Muslim forces took Khaybar in the year 629, Common Era. But the Jews have always been successful, smart people in commercial activities, and they had a lot of things for sale, like different clothes and luxury goods. So, of course, Islam wanted to take them because they're like, hey, man, you guys got nice stuff. We want it. You got women and nice things. If it was just a bunch of men sitting around, they'd probably want them too for slaves, right? So anyways, Islam invaded that territory. But there are some sources that say that the Jewish people wanted to attack Muhammad and his Islamic people. And then so if Muhammad wanted to keep his people and his ideology alive, he had to attack the Jews first, supposedly. Allegedly. But I guess you never know. It's possible. So remember that Muhammad was like the governor, had control of Medina at the time. And some of the Jewish people supposedly broke the Constitution. Or they violated the Constitution. So the Muslims kicked out the Jewish people from Medina. Saying, hey man, this is Islam in practice here. We're doing our thing. And a lot of people could have helped the Jews out at the time, but they were afraid that the Muslims would attack them. So a lot of people refused to help the Jews at Khaybar. But eventually a lot of the Jewish people surrendered to the Muslims, and they were allowed to live in the oasis for several years until they were expelled completely. But they would have to give like 1/2 of their belongings to the Muslims, or 1/2 of their produce to the Muslims. Then they would have to pay a jizya. The Muslims were really taking control then. So somebody a few years ago told me that Muhammad was in about 40 wars, and I don't find any evidence to that anywhere. But the wars that he was in that Muhammad fought in were in Mecca. When 624, the Battle of Badr, which was 300 Muslims against 900 of the Quraysh tribe. with the Muslim victory in Mecca. So a lot of people were like, "Holy cow! It was like 3-1, and the Muslims won the war." So we should join those guys because those guys are pretty badass. They're killing people, taking women. We better join them. We're gonna join them or die. So a lot of people started to join them. Then in the year 625, there was the Battle of Uhud, which was about 750 Islam people against 3,300 Quraysh people, and the Quraysh won that particular war. So people are like, yeah, you know what? I like the pagan gods, and the Muhammad guys are losing wars here. So maybe I won't convert. But in the year 627, Muhammad's like, hey, let's build a trench around around this place, and we'll fight from there. You know, he's really strategic in war, Muhammad. He was a good captain, good war leader. And so he had about 3,000 Muslims against 10,000 people in this Battle of the Trench in the year 627, and the Muslim victory. And kill the men, take the women, take the boys and as slaves, and convert people, you know, if they want to. And then in the year 628 was the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. The Quraysh tribe, they made a treaty with the Muslims. But then, of course, you know, it was very tribal back then, just like today. Very tribal, people with ideology against ideology. And somebody was killed, and so the war started again. In the year 630, there was 10,000 Muslims marched and defeated Mecca. And took it over. Took over a large area. And a couple years later, Muhammad died. But anyways, that's the inception. That's the beginning of Islam with Muhammad. And, you know, there was Christians around. There was a lot of different religions around at the time. So, like, Muhammad got his ideas from, of course, Jews and then Christians and the Abrahamic religion. So he was like, you know what? My religion's just like those guys' religions. You know, he copied a lot of things and put a lot of other things in his own words. So the birth of Islam was a lot of sex, blood, and rock and roll. So anyways, in the year 629, the Islamic forces sent emissary to Syria to convert people, or tell them, hey, we got this guy in the sky that you should believe in. If you don't, we'll kill you. That's possibly what happened. Who knows what actually happened, but the emissary went there to talk to these people in Syria, spread the message, and they ended up killing the guy. And so word got back to Islamic forces in Medina, and they're like, hey man, they killed our guy. We have to go kill them now. I'm sure Islam got a reputation back in the day, and so when some dude showed up and told everybody like, hey, join us or die, they're like, screw you. Because at the time it was the Byzantine Empire. So Muhammad wanted this emissary to make it to Basra, but he died in Mu'tah by the Ghassanid tribe people. So these Ghassanid people were an Arab tribe, and they, I guess they were persecuted in parts of Arabia, so they went north to the Levant region, and some people say that some of them might have already been Christian by the time they arrived in the Levant, but others say that no, not until they got to Levant, then they become more Christian in the Byzantine Empire at the time. And so they were living peacefully with the Christians, I guess, and they were fighting alongside them because the Christians, the Byzantine Christian Empire was fighting the Persians, the Sassanids at the time. And The Gassanids were helping the Christians keep the Bedouin people out of the area. So I guess these Gassanids were on the side of the Byzantine, whether some were Christian or all of them were Christian or not, whether or not. So when the Islamic emissary came to say, "Hey, join us," then they were like, "Heck with you, man," and they killed a guy. Then Muhammad heard about it, and he's like, "Hey, man, let's go kill those people." So allegedly, the Muslims were going to strike on a feast day in the Byzantine Empire, and the Byzantines were like, "Heck with that, man! We're gonna get ready and we're gonna fight them." And so the Muslims showed up, and they're like, "Hell no, man! There's too many of them." So they backed off, and as they backed off, they went to a place called Muta, and they fought there and lost. Which like a few of the generals had gotten killed there, and today there's they built some kind of mausoleum. They built a mausoleum over their graves because those people that died that tried to conquer the Byzantine at the time, the people that died are considered martyrs. So they built some kind of mausoleum over their grave, and they're like, "They're such good people." So after this war, after these people are dying, and Muhammad's like, "Hey, man, we're getting women, we're getting all these items from people that we conquer." He's like, he's like, "Come on, let's go one more place. We'll defeat people in Arabia, North Arabia. The expedition of Tabuk, the expedition of Usura." Muhammad got like some 30,000 people together, but before he had to get to those 30,000 people, he was like, none of them wanted to go with. They were like, "Hell with you, man. We ain't doing this. We're not going to die over this stuff. We got women already. We got things. We got all the stuff we need. We're not going to go with you and that crazy guy in the sky talk you got." But anyways, the salesman that Muhammad was, he got them all to go with. And so that was the last thing that Muhammad did was this expedition. And they were thinking that they were going to get a Byzantine invasion going on. They thought the Byzantine were going to come and kill him, but Muhammad was at the lead this time, and he's like, "This ain't going to happen with my lead." And of course it didn't happen. But Muhammad did go around talking to different chiefs of different tribes and telling them about the guy in the sky and that they should believe in him and all the conquests he did and how they should join him. He was successful for the most part. Well, that's Muhammad for you, and that's Islam.